Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have Valiant EQ, well Valiant Gauntlet here now, and we're gonna talk about it in today's video because I have done all of it and I think I want to give some feedback to it because there are many things that I absolutely loved, a few things that I think could or should be improved, and then there are quite a few comments that I have heard from other people that I kind of want to address as well. So number one, I think the rewards are good. I think the rewards are well worth it for the effort required, for the level of difficulty or time investment. Effectively, it is shorter than any monthly event quest typically would be when it comes out. So it's not as long, for instance, as if it would be if it was a full quest. And I think, it's well worth it. I did it in like 2 streams in, I think, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe. And that means about half an hour per path, per quest. I think it's fine to do over the course of the month, and I have no issue personally with the length of it and the rewards. The issue of length did come up, and I did hear people say that it is too long, and I think the main reason why they did say that is twofold. Number one is because it requires you to use fairly significant amount of champions of a single class, which in itself I am okay with. I understand that that is not what everybody with a small or smaller account would say, but this is the type of content that does reward your roster strength effectively, because you do need to use 14 champions of the same class. If you don't have many good champions ranked up, it could be tricky, because there are few fights that would require more specialized counters. For instance, there's like Guillotine 2099, where it can be finicky if you don't have a miss counter, or we have Vision Arcus or Baron Zemo, which can be somewhat tricky fights, and every quest had like 3 or 4 fights that you kind of want a fairly specific counter to. But I do have a couple of gripes to grind here. Number one, the entire quest effectively felt incredibly monotone. And I do have issue with that. It genuinely felt like you cut out fights from Thekiryu, line them up, and then be done with it. It didn't feel like an actual person has designed this, but it felt like it is designed by AI or by some sort of macro where you just rip out some fights. And that is the big difference from Crucible. Crucible, every fight is different, and here I think the nodes change up like once or twice in the quest. There's like one additional node that's changing, and I'm not a big fan of it. I'd much prefer like varied set of fights, and there is a good reason for it. It's not necessarily to make it harder, but it's also to enable people to use all of their rosters. And I think the first place that kind of highlighted it the most was the tech quest in this instance. Because where you need to use the tech champions, this is a mutant one, where you needed to use the tech champions, forgot which quest was that, that's where many of the issues started. No, this is Cosmics, was it second quest? Tech champions, third one, fourth one, fifth one. Sorry about that. But there we go. So we had, first of all, wasn't properly the tech node. This was node for Avengers and tech champions, right? But you can't use Avengers if they're not tech. And here is that they gain a power drain charge for 6 seconds whenever they land a critical hit. Performing a medium combo ender consumes all of these and power drains the opponent, which is fine. But then when you go and edit your team, one of the characteristic traits of the tech class is that you don't crit. So these champions do not work with the node at all whatsoever. And the same thing kind of happens in the other quests as well, where these nodes are fairly specific and they are repetitive, and all of them need to fit this one criteria. When here, a significant portion of your ranked up tech roster cannot be used, therefore it feels that the roster ask is even bigger than it should be. But if there were varied amount of nodes, how you can gain these extra furies and stuff like that, like the tech class has the one that, you get the furies when you shock, you get the furies when you do X, Y, or Z, you could actually use more of your roster. And the fact that these nodes do not change, and the fact that these nodes, are fairly still are RPG element specific, means again that it genuinely felt fairly bad when most or half of your ranked up class champions are just completely invalid and they do not work with the node in any way, shape, or form or fashion. And again, if they would have used 2 or 3 of these nodes, it would have been better. Or 4. Split it in sections, 3 fights per 3 fights or something. And the other issue here is when you kind of combine that with the required relic, because there were several of the lanes where you effectively were required relic or your combat power rate is non-existent. I think that was in the Cosmic Quest, where in the later fights, unless you have relic equipped, you have 0 combat power rate. And nobody wants to re-equip relics specifically for one quest. We do not have enough relics to give them to all of our random 6 stars and unranked 7 stars. And therefore, again, those parts of this, it just kind of felt that it wasn't thought through. Again, it felt like somebody just did something, automatically from a macro, or like AI effectively did it, but nobody double checked it and thought it's like, hey, if one of the big attributes of tech class is that, many of the new champions in tech class do not crit, it wouldn't be a good idea to have an entire quest requiring you to crit with the tech champions. Or it wouldn't necessarily be a good idea to require people to have relics throughout entire this. That I think they need to throw out completely. So whilst I still did have a fairly good time throughout it all, I liked the piece of content. It generally just felt unfinished, or felt like it lacked kind of like double checking and thoroughness. Because these things, they're not massive. They would just require a bit more love and care, a bit more attention, a bit more tweaking. And I think it would be a better experience. Because again, it generally just feels like somebody didn't care to spend time to think through it. So that's what it comes to the length of the quest. I personally don't have an issue with the length at all. I think it's fair. I do think the quests themselves, the nodes that they are using, would need a bit more love and care. Do not, request relic on the champion to function, so, stay away from the relic nodes. And again, think a bit through what type of class nodes you're using. Other than that, the fight difficulty itself, I'll be honest here as well, I did find it fairly tedious. I didn't find it, let's say, challenging, like, for instance, Crucible. Even though any mistake that you make it here, does transfer to the next fight, I love that, and that increased the part of the challenge. But the fights themselves, they're very simple, very basic, and, that's fine. I mean, I'd like them to be a wee bit harder, personally, but I don't think that's going to be a popular statement with the majority of the viewer base, because most of the players typically want the maximum amount of rewards for the shortest quests and easiest fights possible. I think that's kind of like generally the most popular sentiment. That's not necessarily mine. So I would actually enjoy a bit trickier fights, and again, a bit more varied fights here. As far as the level of difficulty is concerned, it's a bit too easy. Okay, now the controversial point. These mandatory choice nodes do not heal you up. And I liked it. And again, this is getting so nasty because I know that a lot of people do complain about it. But I really did like it. Because that forced me to think extra. And again, this probably is going to differ wildly. Your opinion on this matter is going to differ wildly based on your personal experience. But I did it live, and I generally didn't use a single health potion. I did use one revive because I misremembered OG Guillotine's ability of Pain Link. I thought she reflects back all energy damage, but she reflects back all non-physical damage. that includes direct damage, which also includes bleed. So I misremembered that one ability, and that did cost me 140% revive, which was the only item that I used clearing this. And I did that by obviously trying to cleverly utilize my champion abilities and willpower. Some fights just gave you willpower heal, so I purposely kind of stalled a bit in some matchups to heal a bit more. And then, you know, every class does have champions that has access to regeneration. Like, for instance, with Mystics, you can have Werewolf by Night, or, you know, Juggy can heal a bit, Chavez can heal a bit, Chatra, well, she doesn't heal in this quest, but you have Absorbing Man, you have Wiccan, you have Kindred that can potentially heal, or White Tiger if you're shutting opponents heal, you have Diablo, which was a very useful heal, then you have Mordo, so on and so forth. And the same thing goes, you know, for every class champion. Every class, more or less, has champions that have the capability to heal. You know, again, in science class, we had Count Neferi and Joe Fixit. I do think if you want to squeeze, then you can probably use iHulk as well for healing. So those are, you know, 2 there, and you can potentially use 2 Joe Fixits. In skill class, we have Nick Furies that can effectively reset the life. That can be quite useful. We have Kingpin that heals. We have Attuma that can heal himself. And again, I used even lower rarity. Blade was a very useful heal, actually. I did get back from 30% to 70% with Blade in the fight, and then swapped him out, obviously, for the next fight. In Mutant Glass, you have Mr. Sinister, and I used 2 of them. You can heal a wee bit with Onslaught and the bleed there. You do have Weapon X that can potentially heal, which was ironic because that's who I died with through the guillotine, but whatever. Then, you know, if you have whaled some events, then there's potentially Deadpool. Then in Cosmic Class, again, we have Thanos, we have Serpent that can heal. We have, you know, you guys get the point. We have Superior Iron Man that can heal some. We have Adam Warlock. Tech Class as well probably has some healers. We do have Ultron in Tech Class that can definitely heal. Depending on circumstances, there are other options, like Infamous Iron Man and Hulkbuster if he's awakened. And then again, Mystics I kind of mentioned. And I like, you know, looking for those champions, kind of saving as my trump cards, and then finding matches where I can use him to top up my health, and that added to the part of the experience for me. So I generally didn't mind the fact that the health didn't reset back to full. Overall, I like the content a lot. Again, I do think it could use some changes. I do think Kebab needs to think significantly harder with, again, the nodes. Perhaps, again, utilize more different nodes in these fights, so the fights do not seem like all just about the same. But yeah, overall, I'm quite happy with it. So see, in my opinion, fairly balanced, positive video. But still, somebody's gonna bitch in comments. They always complain. But no, seriously, I do like the content. Again, as everything in the world, I think it could be improved. I hope it does get improved, you know, a bit. But I think we're on the right track there. Let me know what you guys thought, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. Bye bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all been